Hello and welcome to tonight's Downtime session of Vampire the Masquerade Beyond Armageddon. Tonight we are joined by Oit, who will be playing Abel, and at a later time we will be joined by Amalia, who will be playing Serena, and Tony, who will be playing Jack. Um, Before we start, do remember to check out the links below. Check out the upcoming book, Sabbat the Schism, with new rules for V5, written by our Amalia here. Remember to also check the link for Mark's music channel. He makes all the music for our sessions here, and his uh, his help is very appreciated. And lastly, if you are watching this live, do remember to check out our YouTube channel. And regardless of where you're watching us, do subscribe to the channel and obviously comment and interact with us, like the videos, etc., etc. It really does help us out quite a bit. And without further ado, we begin in a very cold night, uncharacteristically cold for the weather that's been plaguing the US lately. We join Abel as he drives out of the Haven area, just east of Santa Monica, on his way to Hollywood to further the Sabbat's goals. His mission is one of intel gathering, and yet, what is going through his mind?
Well, Abel is not a stranger to the Hollywood area anymore, but still he is approaching tonight with a certain excitement since he will probably be visiting places that he has never been to.
Mm-hmm. And with this mentality, um, as he passes each green light, drives down slowly more and more empty streets as the night progresses. Eventually, he crosses what he knows is the threshold of Anarch territory. And while the environment itself does not change overtly, there is this all encompassing feeling of being watched. Where do you go first?
Well, I presume I have actually done a bit of homework and would have probably asked from my contacts that I have the whereabouts of some gathering places for the local kindred.
You have, and you were provided with a number of addresses. The most prominent ones were a jewelry store where your packmate Jack had a meeting with Isaac Abrams. It is currently believed to be his haven, though it's not confirmed to be so. Um, Serena would also have shared a few points of interest, including the Vesuvius strip club and a few bars where Anarchs are known to hang out.
I think Abel will start with one of those bars.
Okay. And eventually, you do reach the neighborhood of one of these bars. Well, more of a nightclub. A place called the Asp Hole. As you park your car nearby and exit, um, I would like you to roll me a quick perception and alertness and decide if you wish to or how you wish to proceed towards the bar, the club. All right. So as you walk down the street in the direction of the club, um, out of the corner of your eye, in one of the alleyways, you do spot a shape that quickly ducks into the shadows.
But that's not the alleyway or whatever shadows this creature is retreating to is not the
Is not in your
location where I'm
location, no.
heading. Okay, I just presume that I'm being watched as can be expected.
Mm-hmm. And so you walk down the alleyway, or the street rather. Sorry. You walk down the street towards the asp hole, and at the front you see a number of people waiting in line to get in. A very burly bouncer at the door, and the faint disco music that's coming from inside, quite antiquated. Um, it echoes from the door in a very muffled tone.
I don't suppose there is a another line for
VIPs?
another kind. Yeah, well, let's say VIPs.
Well, um, you don't see two lines. However, eventually you do spot um, someone who simply passes the entire line, um, waves at the bouncer, and the bouncer immediately lets them through.
All right, I will just walk over to the bouncer as well and just very persuasively ask him to let me in as well.
All right. Well, you approach the bouncer, and immediately the first thing that he says is he raises his hand towards you, indicating for you to stop, and says, "Name."
Shepard.
"You're not on the list. You can wait in line."
Well, maybe you can put me on the list.
"Listen, buddy. I got a lot of people to fucking filter tonight. Okay? Just go to the back of the line, and I'll let you in once you can actually make your way here. Yeah?"
I don't have time for this, so I command him to put me on the list.
Okay. You can roll it.
Just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like my mouse battery is dying. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you look into his eyes, and what is the specific command you give him? Abel?
I'm just gonna ask him to let me in.
Okay. Well, you look into his eyes and you simply say, "Let me in." And the man at first has a somewhat stubborn look, but as he's about to speak, the words that come out of his mouth, instead of shooing you away, are "Certainly." And he takes a step to the side and opens the door for you.
Thank you. And I'll slide a 20 note on in his jacket pocket, probably.
Um, he seems to sort of shrug it off, um, and you deduce from his expression that he probably is trying to justify the situation in his mind as "I let him in because I got bribed," not something unnatural just happened. Um, and you walk inside, past the large door with the red neon sign in the shape of the name of the club. You enter to see a scene with very pink and red lights, um, showering the room in this odd color combination that seems rather outdated by today's standards. Plenty of people frequent this club, and on the wall, right near, right behind the bartender, this heavily tattooed woman, um, on the wall behind her is a portrait of, um, essentially a portrait of an actor that you sort of recognize from a hit movie a couple of decades ago, one Ash Williams, and it seems to the club seems to be dedicated to his memory.
Oh, that's why it's called the Ash Hole.
Ash,
Fine.
no jokes here.
Well, in any case, I will just slink to a quiet corner, one that preferably gives me a good view of the whole room or the area, and I'll just try to start deducing who looks kindredy and who don't, and whether this place is something that is considered as a wreck, or
Mm.
if it's a
Well,
if it's a
let's
kindred only establishment, which it probably is not.
let's go one by one in these things you're looking for. So you get to your area in the corner. You find one that has a decent view of the club. You don't go upstairs to the VIP area. You stay in the downstairs area simply to keep a low profile. And after a few moments of looking, you do spot signs of kindred activity. You spot that sometimes some strangers meet, and instead of leaving the room or leaving the club, as is to be expected when you hook up with someone, they simply go into a dark corner, and eventually, a few minutes later, one of the people exits that corner and the other one is nowhere to be seen. So you do notice some um, some canine activity in the club. That said, you also notice a lot of very regular uh, kind club activity. There's plenty of people who are actively drinking, and you see them drink alcohol and um, juices and such. Um, so you get the sense that this is a club where a lot of mortals go, where at least a good number of Canites come to feed or hang out. But it's by no means exclusively one or the other.
All right. Uh, would do any of those individuals that have had the fill stick around in the club, or are they just leaving after they are done?
Hmm. Well, a few of them do stay and chat with either some other people who have drinks in their hand and are actively drinking, so you deduce are humans, or people who you've seen exit um, these dark areas where they went in with someone else. So you deduce them to be Canaanites. However, the most prominent type of interaction you see is between uh, Kine or Kine and Canaanite. You very rarely see two Canaanites interact. So it very much seems to be a more fun oriented space.
Yeah,
Among the
so
people you spot, eventually you do notice that the bartender is serving a drink, and the person who takes the drink has their eyes pointed straight at you. Um, she is a dark skinned woman with a very well maintained hair, very expensive looking clothing, and just a very well done, very tasteful makeup. Um, she takes the drink, seems to bring it up to her lips, and presses the glass against her lips, but you can tell she doesn't actually intake any of the liquid. She seems to smell it for a moment, and then places the glass um, on the table, watches you for a few moments, and then stands up and starts walking towards you.
mm, well, it's probably not possible. It would be rude to run away now, so I'll just stick there.
Mm-hmm. So the woman approaches you, and she gestures towards the one of the seats in the this dark corner you've picked for yourself, and gesturing to one of the spaces, she looks at you inquisitively, as if asking for permission to sit down.
By all means, it's a free country.
She sits down, and after a moment, she seems to mix her drink, leans on the table that rests between the two of you, and seems to watch you very intently. And then she asks, "So, what's your business here?"
To be honest, I just came here to learn some latest gossip. Just for kicks, basically. Bored, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Visiting anyone in particular?
Not tonight.
I see. When
You're
I.
the first person here who's actually not involved in, well, not already committed to an activity, so I was just about to give up on this place and move on.
Mm-hmm. See, when I first saw you park your car outside, I was just watching you come in, and I was asking myself, I don't think this man has ever introduced himself to Isaac. So, one of two things is happening here. Either you're trying to get into Hollywood and gather some intelligence for whoever you work with, while staying under the radar, and you're failing at it. Or you came in here looking for Anarchs to befriend, in which case, we're listening.
Well, yes, I've been in LA for a while now, and I think I started at the wrong neighborhood, so now I'm trying Hollywood. I went to Santa Monica first.
I imagine you didn't have much
I,
luck with that, if you're still here. And she seems
well,
to bring the drink up to her lips again.
well, the ladies seem to be crazy.
Hmm. Given recent events, doesn't surprise me you say that. Met both of them?
No, I was supposed to deliver a package, but I had a bad feeling about that, so I used other means to complete that task, and it seems I was lucky I did.
Smarter than most, at least. So, who do you run with? Really?
Let's say I'm a traveler.
Hmm.
However, I had a friend who I picked up on the road, but he has now disappeared. I the one of those that like to stick to the darkness, lest they be exposed immediately. But he has now disappeared into the darkness.
Subtle.
Can't find him anymore.
Well, they do tend to do
Maybe
that.
his kin would give me some answers, but then again, he's a free man. He's free to do what he wants. Wish him well.
Hmm. Alright. Well, by decree of the local Baron, Isaac Abrams, you are allowed to do your business around here, but you owe him a service. So do go meet him first.
Fine by me, as long as it doesn't include delivering jewelry to Camarilla. No.
Not on good terms with him?
Well, we all have our past, don't we?
Here, here. Probably you and I don't really have different stories in that sense, but conversation for another day.
Sure. Um, you seem like a nice person to know.
Could be. You looking for friends in Hollywood?
Indeed, I am.
Well, depending on how your business goes with Isaac. Feel free to call me.
So,
And she reaches into the bag that she has hanging from her shoulder and hands you a small card with. It's basically a card fully black with a very slight gold rim with sort of floral patterns on it. And you see the phone number, presumably a way to contact her. And above it, you see one name, Caroline.
nice to meet you, Caroline.
We'll see. If your business with
So
Isaac goes
is
well, I'll agree to
yes.
that statement.
Where can I find him?
Currently, he's attending some business. Business in the local Chinese theater. It's no longer active, but it's a place he visits.
So, he is currently in the middle of something, or
In the middle of something, yes.
not available for an audience?
Not immediately. I've already posted a request for his attention. Until then, I'll be watching you.
All right. Any other interesting establishments I should maybe visit?
Hmm. Well, you may be interested in Vesuvius, a local club. Though I would mind your business going in there. It's quite secure. Here is where you are free to indulge in some of your more exploratory fantasies. Humans here are not privy to everything, but they are open to experiences. If you wish for something a bit more... a bit more delicate in terms of taste, there are a couple of spots around town where you can, for a price at least, you can meet with some distinguished people and watch some works of art on film, as the Baron would put it.
Well, what I'm actually hungry for is just some opinions, let's say. I want some good, honest opinions on what life is in Hollywood for the likes of us.
Incredibly good. The Camarilla can't afford to take over or even harass us. Other Anarch territories respect Isaac enough not to fuck with them. And the Sabbat are too scared of the consequences of trying to take over.
Except for Santa Monica, I can't
We are only
presume to
affiliated with
believe.
Santa Monica by sect.
Not big fans then.
We don't
I
necessarily dislike them,
understand.
but we are not affiliated with them otherwise.
Fair enough. But yes, like I said, if I would just like to, you know, sit down, speak with the locals, and make some friends, where would you point me?
Depending on the nature of those friends, I would say either here, or if you're feeling adventurous, Vesuvius. Though
Are
do
they
care for when you step in there.
a bit more rowdy there, or is should I be expecting conflict or?
Depends on what you bring. If you decide to go in there trying to ask too many questions that you shouldn't be, like you're doing now, I'd say you won't be staying there too long. If, however, you go in there looking to make connections, discuss business, make sure everyone's on the same page, everyone's acting amicably towards each other, then yes, your presence is tolerated enough for that. Plus, it does have good entertainment. And she gives a slight smile before once again bringing the drink up to her lips.
Yeah. Well, I've of course heard of the place, but yeah, why not? It's a good thing I'm asking my questions from you then, not from anyone else.
Well, we are aware that you were spotted within the domain a few times. This isn't your first time here. We don't know where you went because the people keeping an eye on you were unreliable at the time. Now I'm watching you, so I'll know exactly where you set foot.
right. You are not going to follow me to where I plan to sleep for the day, I hope.
If you plan to sleep within the territory, I will.
Oh, don't you worry about that. I like to pick my spots. Let's say I have some sort of anxiety when I have to stay in one place too long.
She furrows her brows for a moment and then sort of tilts her head and says, "Oh, I believe you're insinuating some things that most would be too afraid to admit to."
I'm proud of what I am.
Hmm. Suit yourself. Now, she seems to bring her phone out of her bag, checks it very quickly, and then pockets it once more and says, "It seems that the Baron finally has some time for you. If you wish to meet him right now, he'll be waiting for you at this address." And she takes a napkin and writes it down.
Thank you. Better not keep the man waiting.
Better
I'm
not.
looking forward to meeting you again, Miss Caroline.
I'm sure. And as she says this and waits for you to get up, you just see her take the drink, and it's this, it's one of these fruity drinks, very colorful, and she basically takes it and takes a big swig of it, and then places the glass half empty on the table before getting up and walking away.
All right, I checked the address on the napkin, and is it a walking distance or should I drive?
It's about a 15-minute walk, so potentially better to drive, just in case you piss someone off, I'd say.
Exactly my thoughts.
All right, so you exit the club and make your way back to your car. You proceed to drive it through town and eventually reach the address. Seems to be a jewelry shop. Um, the address she wrote includes the words, use the back door. And as you approach the shop, it is indeed locked up in the front, seems to be closed. Going around, you seem to travel through this tight alleyway before reaching a door that, when you try it, seems to be unlocked. Opening the door, you see a corridor that eventually leads you to another door, and opening it, you enter what looks like an office with a very large TV. Um, Inside are a man in a very expensive looking suit, as well as another man who seems to have his hair brushed back. Seems to wear a sort of very casual clothing, t shirt and jeans. And this man simply shakes the other's hand and says, I see you got other guests, so we'll discuss the rest of our business later, Isaac. It was good to see you again. The man then turns, sort of eyes you up and down as he walks past you, and leaves the room, closing the door behind him.
I nod to him as he passes by.
And as you turn back, the man in the suit very casually and calmly walks towards the large, comfortable-looking chair behind the desk in the office. Sort of almost lets himself fall into it and extends one of his legs to the side and says, So, you've been a regular visitor of my domain for a while, uninvited, and you failed to present yourself to me on your first night here. Care to explain yourself?
Well, yes, I've been. Well, of course, sorry. Apologies. And haven't quite decided yet where I want to live. Um, just traveling around looking for the best
Well, things don't
option.
get much better than Hollywood, but we should make things clear between us. As long as you're in Hollywood, you are free to do your business as you wish. You are free to act as you wish, so long as you keep yourself in check. The basics of any of our existence would apply here as well as anywhere else. On that note, you are also to make sure to understand who is in charge of this domain. If you run around acting as if the territory is your plaything, my people will knock some sense into you. If you attempt to claim any of the territory as your own, you will have your final meeting with the sunrise. And if you fail to understand that my word here is law, we will have no use for someone like you in this territory. Talentless hacks are not really tolerated, you see. Is all of this clear so far?
Crystal clear.
Good. As is custom, you will make an offering to show your goodwill to me. As it happens, I do have something that needs doing. I need you to deliver a message.
All right. Wouldn't be to a certain hotel and I give the address where Jeanette had me deliver something for Therese.
He sort of furrows his brows and says, Well, if I wanted you to deliver a message to one of the two sisters that rules Santa Monica, and mark my words, that territory is not yet entirely Camarilla controlled. But it is not ours yet, either. But if I wanted you to deliver a message to them, well, I would first make sure that you are loyal enough to deliver the right message. No, I'm not asking something so suicidal of you. All I need you to do is head down to a club I'm sure was mentioned in your conversation with our most recent fledgling. I want you to go to the club Vesuvius. I want you to tell the owner that her most recent unlisted acquisition is tolerated since she's been doing her job. However, I want to know why she failed to mention that apparently her clan is different from what was first mentioned. That's it.
That's pretty straightforward.
Not too painful. In the meantime, consider yourself welcome in Hollywood. You may choose any spot you wish to claim as a haven, so long as you remember, while you are present here, you are under my domain, you obey my rules. I don't care which sect you belong to, just know your place.
I wouldn't plan to contest anything here in Hollywood.
Good. Any questions that I should do you the courtesy of answering before you leave?
You wouldn't probably want to give me any more details regarding the message that I have to deliver.
Not for now. Depending on how loyal you wish to make yourself seem, I may share some details later. But for now, simply deliver the message.
Alrighty then. I will be on it right away.
Good. Enjoy your stay in Hollywood. And he gestures towards the exit.
I nod, say good night, Mr. Abrams, and saunter out.
Mm-hmm. As you exit the building, once again, you can't help but feel that you're being watched. And you walk down the alleyway from which you entered and make your way to your car. Where do you wish to go next?
I will be driving to the Vesuvius.
Okay. So, you pull up the map on your car and note where you are in the city. You plan a route to Vesuvius and you begin driving. And as you do, you can't help but notice that once in a while, as you're making your way down the street, every time you stop at a red light, somewhere around you, either sitting on a bench, smoking a cigarette, or having a conversation on the side of the road, or simply scrolling on her phone, is the woman you've met, Caroline. And every time you notice her, she seems to make direct eye contact with you before returning to whatever tasks she is engaged in. Eventually, you reach Vesuvius, and you park nearby. How do you make your way inside?
I will. Just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably try to gain access to the club first and see if I'm let in.
All right. Well, you walk up to the bouncer at the door, and as he looks you up and down, he simply steps aside, opens the door.
All right. And when I get to, let's say, the lobby or the area of admittance, uh, wardrobe or something, I'll send a text message.
Mm-hmm. And as you begin typing, um, you notice that within this front desk area, um, you notice that you can sort of get a quick glance at the interior of the club. And you spot sitting on one of the very comfortable looking couches with a dancer performing in front of her is Caroline, who seems to be laying back with a drink in her hand and simply watching you.
I'm
And
typing my
we
text message.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. We currently await the text message being sent. Some private things being
Bad,
said in chat.
bad reception. It's not trying to deliver.
um, the message is sent, and you find yourself simply waiting at the reception area. The woman tending the front desk seems to greet you with a smile, and as you lounge around, she simply gestures towards the one of the seats nearby for you to wait.
All right. Yes, I greet him and sit and wait.
And as you wait, eventually your phone buzzes.
All right. I walk over to the receptionist and tell her that can I have an appointment with the esteemed owner?
Of course. One moment. She picks up the phone, and as she's about to say something, she seems to listen instead, and then says, "Certainly." She places the. She puts down the phone, and then looks to you, and says, "The owner is expecting you, along with what she mentioned is a visitor, someone you'd expect to be here."
So I make my way upstairs.
Mm-hmm. So you enter the club, and passing the large area with stages sporting these poles and beautiful women dancing on them, passing the myriad of clients frequenting the club, and reaching the area near the bar, you pass a set of curtains that lead you to uh, a staircase that leads upwards. Each step is decorated by a neon strip shining a bright green light that sort of um, gets it enhances the red color of the walls and the environment around you. And climbing up the stairs, you eventually hear through the very heavy music, um, you hear someone coming up behind you and following you upstairs. Glancing behind you, you see Caroline, who watches you with a measure of distrust. After making your way upstairs, you enter what looks like a VIP room, and sitting on, once again, a very comfortable couch is a woman dressed in very revealing clothing, a red corset and very decorated borderline lingerie. Um, she seems to stand up, nodding to you, and says, "Welcome to my club. I see you've met our dear Caroline. How may I help you, sir?" And Abel seems to fall into the abyss.
Oh, yes, that was the mute button that
Your worst
Abel had
enemy.
pressed. Um, uh, it's my pleasure to meet you. A fine establishment, may I add. Um, I need to make some amends. You see, I failed to introduce myself to the top management of the area, and in order to gain the permission to continue perusing the area, mm, I here to deliver you a message. And the message stands. Um, is it for all heirs?
It
And I
can be.
glance at Caroline.
It can be.
That your recent acquisition has been approved. However,
She responds to that statement with a smile and a somewhat half dreamy look.
however, um, a question was raised why uh, there is a certain mm, misconception regarding the ancestry.
I see. I believe I understand the question. Thank you for the message. It would be best if you were on your way for the night. And I'm sorry the inconvenience of our Baron was simply thrust upon you.
Well, I'm sure it's nothing that cannot be worked out.
Hopefully.
And
And she
and
does
trying
seem
to
to be.
convey different meanings.
Yeah, of course. She simply responds, I'm sure it is a problem that will be taken care of. And as she does, her expression seems to change from one of um, relief and, you know, someone who just received very pleasant news. It seems to shift from that to one of uncertainty, perhaps a twinge of nervousness. Um, and as she
Oh,
says this, she slowly gestures to the exit.
I make a slight curtsy and uh, also uh, kind of uh, make the eye to Caroline and back out.
Mm-hmm. And as you leave, you notice that the person who's been, even not overtly, keeping you company, the person who's been following you the entire night, Caroline, she doesn't follow you downstairs. You basically hear over the progressively louder music as you climb downstairs. You hear Caroline's voice turning to the woman with red hair, um, and say, "What did he mean by that? Are we safe?" And you hear a few calming sounds before your senses are essentially consumed by the loud music and the sights of the Vesuvius.
Well, I presume I still have. I haven't been kicked out of the club, right? So I
No.
can still go in there and try to make some friends.
Mm-hmm. Well, you. How would you wish to progress with this?
Oh, I'll just look for, stragglers, maybe someone who's come here on their own and seem a bit like, wary of this particular night.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of them just want to talk, or an ear to pour some gossip in.
Mm. Well,
Oh.
looking around, you do
I'll
see.
just, on the presumption that I'm new in town and I'm just trying to make some friends.
Yeah, of course. Well, looking around, you do see that the bulk of the people here, their attention is squarely on the dancers, not on each other, not on you, not on anyone else. The dancers. Um, you do, however, notice something that, while not entirely obvious when you spot it, in your mind you realize it to be sort of a strategy held by the owner of the club to organize sort of a social area for canines. Whoever is not with their attention on the dancers, the few people who are not, all of them, you notice, either have full drinks or no drinks at all. Um, if they have people they're interacting with, um, it's either people who are making out with them and get subsequently fed upon, though most mortals would simply consider this as part of a regular makeout session. Um, or those people are speaking with a facial expression that does not indicate that the conversation is fun. It's either a business talk or some talk that is about more serious business than you would expect to hear at a strip club. After you look around for a few moments, you do notice a couple of stragglers, you could call it, who once in a while do glance at one of the dancers, but mostly they seem to be examining the crowd. One of which is um, this man who's wearing a suit, but clearly by the, let's say, disposition or the condition of the suit, he probably had a rough night. You can tell. He seems to be sitting at one of the booths by himself, and he has a very pensive look, sort of in his own world, with a bit of a thousand-mile stare.
Well, looks like that's the person that I wish to talk to, I guess. Or rather have him talk.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go there and be just my charming self and see what I can get out of him.
Okay. As you approach him, he seems to sort of glance towards you, and uh, when he does notice that you're actually sitting down for a conversation, he sort of straightens his back and says, "Hello, I don't believe we've met."
My name is Shepard, and indeed, you are very perceptive.
Hmm,
I'm new in town and
a pleasure.
just looking for some friendly faces.
Right. Uh, Hollywood is not a place where many of those faces are seen often.
Oh, would you care to elaborate on that?
Well, first
Should
things
I be
first.
worried?
First things first. Charlie, it's a pleasure, and he sort of extends his hand for a handshake.
I meet his hand and shake
Mm-hmm.
it. Well,
Secondly, it's not that people are unfriendly here per se, but they do expect you to do a bit more than stand around and just be part of your little sect. Um, Most of
oh, I
us,
can relate to that.
yeah, pulling your weight can be easier in some situations, and not so easy in others. I had the pleasure of meeting the legendary Penny Beth, and I was asked for a favor. So it's it seems I might be moving up on in the world.
Well, let me guess. Favor is somewhat taxing.
No, I can manage it, of course. He says this with sort of a half sarcasm at his own expense.
It's, I like I also changed my expression, and I like very honestly and with seriousness ask, is this something that I can help you with? I'm not trying to take away your glory or anything, but I
No,
do
no.
need
If
friends.
you if you'd like to, if you'd like to take over this favor, I could just point you to. I could point you to Penny herself, and she can deem you either worthy of taking that job or not. But I trust me, I'm not I'm not bothered if you choose to handle this instead of me. Not that I wouldn't be able to handle it, of course.
You would you could. I mean, that's a tempting offer, but I would need to know a few details before I promise
I'm
to do something.
I'm sure you I'm sure you're able to get it get it done regardless. Improvisation is a skill I'm sure you're very apt with.
Well, what is it then? Now
Oh,
I'm curious.
it's nothing serious. Believe me, it's you can probably handle it. Just uh, uh, can I put you in contact with her?
Oh well, why not? I guess. Sure. I'd
Good,
I'd at least hear her out.
good. I mean, you can always say no, of course, right? So,
Yes.
uh,
Well,
yeah,
yes. Like you could have. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I like could have, like I could have. Yeah, I mean, she's probably not available tonight, but I'll send her a text if you want. Shepard, right? I'll make
Yeah. Yeah.
sure that she hears your name. When did you join us? This pull
Well,
shtick.
I just met the man upstairs tonight
Oh,
and did my paid my respects to him by delivering a message here, and now I'm just looking at options.
fresh off the bus
Well,
then.
there's there's not many options so far, but yay,
Well,
I'm glad I
then
sat
this
down with
is
you.
yeah, this is perfect for you. You'll build a bit of a name for yourself. Make sure you can guarantee that spot in the glorious Anarch sect, right? Yeah, I'll make sure Penny manages to contact you or at least know where you are. Do you have a phone number I can use?
Mm, yeah, I'll give him a phone number.
Mm-hmm. And after he notices notes it down, uh, he seems to sort of lean back in what seems like a bit of a calmer demeanor and says, "Well, this is much appreciated. Um, I'll make sure she gives you a call at some point. Nice meeting you, Shepard. I got some business to attend to, so I'll catch you another night. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, sure. Thanks again, Charlie. I mean,
wonderful." And he sort of cuts you
be
off,
seeing you
taps
around.
you on the shoulder, and gets up and starts walking out of the club in quite quite a hurried step.
Well, that's well, glad I could get this stone off his shoulders, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And do you continue to look for people in this club?
And I believe I've met enough interesting people for tonight.
Okay.
Gotten the general demeanor of the area and scored a few contacts. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
And
not like I'm supposed to complete it in one night
of
mission that
course,
I have. So
of course. I believe in your downtime you have um, managed to procure some guaranteed haven uh, within Hollywood. So, would you like to spend your day there or return to the Pack Haven at this time?
I mean, considering I might be followed, I would probably seek for a let's say secure, maybe guarded parking lot
Mm-hmm. All right.
and spend my night there.
All right. Well, as you.
In the van, not
Yeah, of course.
actually on the concrete.
Of course, of course. So, as you make your way back to the van, you exit the club, and the woman at the reception says, Thank you for your visit, Mr. Shepard. Um, the owner has asked me to give you something. And she takes a small box wrapped in ribbons and hands it to you, saying, I was only given the instruction that you should only open this when you are alone and unseen. Ominous as she is, I presume you are not in any trouble.
Well, perhaps it's dynamite. uh, all right. I will try to follow those instructions to the best of my ability.
Of course. And never hesitate to visit Vesuvius once more. Company
Indeed.
will always be here waiting for you.
Seems like a fine place to meet people. Thank you
She
again.
she gives you a nod and bids you good evening.
And I also retreat for the night. And
Mm-hmm.
when I get back to my van, once I've parked for where I plan to spend the day, I will open the box.
Mm-hmm.
But the contents of that box, I will keep a mystery.
Hmm. All right. So as you untie the ribbon around it, you unfold it, essentially pull it away from the box, pry the box open, and this is where we go on break for tonight. We shall be back in a few minutes, joining one of our other uh, night dwellers. Um, and we shall see you very, very soon. And we are back. We join the same night, only a bit earlier, as the van with Abel leaves for Hollywood. A few hours pass, and returning to the Pack Haven arrives Serena with an unconscious man draped over her shoulder. She descends into the basement, and what does she do?
Well, the first thing that she does when she descends into the basement and goes into that other room, she sighs. Because she forgot that she already had one subject, whom she specifically put in this other room because he was, not from the.
Well, let's say this is an additional subject.
Yes, but now I have to feed them both. And I
No, you
forget to do
don't.
that. I do. I need them alive.
I mean, sure.
Remember what happened to the last one? We forgot to feed him.
Fair. But yes, let's just say, yeah. So you descend
Right.
into the basement.
Yes. And on the way to the other room where I'm planning to experiment so that none of the less satisfactory smells get into the room. I'm sure two Auspex users would prefer not to have that. I just peek into the room and wave at Cecil so that he doesn't think that I'm planning again to go out and find some fucking adventure.
Okay. Well, Cecil doesn't really make eye contact with you. He seems to be working on his own thing. And as he does, you simply see one of his extra appendages, one of the ones on his chest, sort of just wave slightly in your direction. And then he
Oh, that's
continues to work.
okay. Well, oh, by the way, I look into the room like, so I think I found Caroline. She's some young Anarch.
The Zamichi stops what he's doing and sort of straightens his head. And then looks to you and says, "Is she a danger?"
By the way, I drew that card. What did it tell me? Was it the Caroline that
Yes.
Cecil was talking about?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna draw another card and be like, is she a danger?
Okay.
Because I didn't stick around long enough for her to find me. I mean, I had an alibi and an excuse, but still. 5 to interpret and 3 to divine.
Okay. You draw a card, and the question you're asking is,
Is she dangerous to the pack?
Hmm.
Like, is she dangerous to our lives? Say.
The card you draw is not a card that means no, but it is a card that sort of gives you the idea that if she is dangerous, she's not a direct danger. She is potentially dangerous if, you know, she's potentially dangerous if certain events happen. But as
Also,
is, no, not currently.
but also, remember I said that I did perception empathy roll on Abel, and I got 3 successes.
Mm-hmm.
What was his attitude to him? Like, what did I gauge from him?
Which roll was that?
It's in notes.
Okay. One moment.
It's in Serena notes in Discord.
Uh-huh. Okay. You... Let me roll something. Yeah, okay. You get a sense that Abel was suppressing something.
Well, she's not dangerous to us per se. Obviously, situations could evolve in different ways, but Abel was quite friendly with her, but also seemed to be suppressing. Either way, I'm probably going to have to do a tarot card spread about the relationship between two people, because that will answer a lot more questions. But given the fact that I was running after Abel all night and he was hanging around Anarchs, with whom I had to almost rub shoulders, granted, it seems that none of them are really good in aspects. Also, Abel went to Vesuvius and stayed there for a while. It's a strip club, and I think Fatima told me some vampiress named Bibi ran it.
I'll have to do some research, but it seems that if there is a danger, it's not immediate.
I mean, a card spread would reveal it, but it will take a while, and I accidentally got myself another subject. And I sometimes forget to feed them and then they die, but I need these guys alive.
What experiment are you conducting this time?
Oh, I'm going to be attempting to use vicissitude without touching, through dementation.
Cecil seems to pause for a moment and just eye you up and down and say, "You're certain you can achieve this?"
Yeah, why not? It's not it's going to be, sure, it's a second combination power I'm creating, but not the first one.
Huh. I'm interested to see the results. You have been capable so far.
I mean, I try. Either way, I have 3 ideas in those. One, potentially holding on to the victim and really morphing them, like in that old Japanese cartoon where the guy just erupts and starts violently flesh shaping randomly. Probably really horrible for the person enduring it. Another one.
I'm not familiar with your cartoons.
Um. So, wait. Let me think. I'm pretty sure I saw something in a microwave explode and melt like that. Yeah, imagine plastic or something in a microwave. At first, it just starts expanding, and then it starts melting and becoming weirder and weirder.
Mm.
Well, that's one. Another one potentially could be that it's a delayed effect. Shake somebody's hand, let them go, and in a couple nights, well, they're not them anymore.
An interesting thought experiment. I'm eager to see if it breeds results. I, for one, have been able to perform something of reasonable worth to our studies.
I think it's the first time I'm hearing you're saying reasonable worth.
I've managed to give a test subject cancer through vicissitude. Naturally developing cancer.
That's pretty neat. So I guess it could work also the other way.
What do you mean?
Well, if you can cause it, can you also uncause it?
Potentially. I'm not
Because,
too
well,
interested in
given,
that aspect of it.
well, it's more like from the perspective the humans are really prone to eating things that they shouldn't be eating, and then they get all kinds of viruses and things that they kill them. So knowing how to, you know, vaccinate them, so to say, is good for us. It's sort of like a good farmer looking after their cows. You don't want them to die from the plague. Otherwise, you won't have anything to eat.
They breed like rabbits. We are fine for food.
Well, yes, but we'll probably be not fine for any embraces if this is the, how to say, if this sort of like vibe continues.
Nothing that a good set of revenants won't fix.
Revenants?
Bread ghouls.
Hmm,
The simplest explanation I can give.
I see.
Either way, the ability to change someone's cellular composition is an achievement I would not deem possible until I saw the research Mariposa was capable of achieving. A shame we had to put her down.
Well, I suppose you could develop it further past what she did and into actual DNA, because then that means humans could be developed so that they could survive on other planets, expand the domains, have other worlds with aliens and other new creatures and life forms. And I wonder how they.
Enough. Be sure you surpass her.
Iris like feels very offended. She's like, I would say something. I would say something, but I'm so offended. I'm just gonna grab my hobo and I'm gonna go to that room.
Like so many women do. Just grab their hobo and go. You enter the room, carrying this unconscious man. And do you place him somewhere specific? Do you...
Does this room also have chains?
This one does not.
Okay, so I'm going to need to restrain him, so I'm going to do that with vicissitude, since I don't really have any rope, but who needs rope when you have vicissitude? So I'm just basically gonna make sure that his arms and legs are tied.
Mm-hmm. And after a few gruesome seconds of essentially compressing flesh and fusing it, you...
I mean, I don't think I would even need to do that. Most people, if they would look and see that's what's happening to their hands, they would, like,
Well, the
who
man
would
is
try.
unconscious.
Yeah, but if he would come to himself, who would try and rip their skin apart?
Not the way you're doing it. Kind of hard to break bone apart just by pulling.
I, I wouldn't bother with the bone. It's too much effort. Just like skin merged enough because,
Okay, fine. Details. Anyway, you make sure that he is incapable of moving, after which you are faced with a man who is in sort of a kneeling position, forcefully, and who cannot even crawl away.
Right. So Iris is going to first sit down, cross-legged, and take a very unnecessary deep breath in. Because how dare Cecil try and pit me against Mariposa? Who is that? Offensive. Then she's going to take out her cards and, sort of like lay them out to, sort of like get a vibe of what's the general like initial approach would be better. Because demonstration is rather finicky and it can go many different ways. So, and she's not in the mood to basically waste time after spending most of her night trying to avoid Anarchs in Hollywood.
Okay.
So, gonna roll. Seven.
Not a good first roll.
No, that's fine. It's 4 plus 5. It's 3 successes to interpret and to divine. Pelese. The magic word.
The magic word. It works. Shit.
6, 7, 8, 9 to interpret. Look, the cards may not be exactly the best for this answer, but boy, am I perfect with like catching the drift.
Mm-hmm. So you're drawing 3 cards?
Yep.
Okay.
3 cards about the general like direction in like how I should like attempt like begin this process.
All right. So the first card you draw, you draw the tower.
Mm-hmm.
You're aware that the tower sort of represents to some extent chaos, sudden change. You're unaware of what, like exactly what the nature of that change would be, but you know that the beginning process of the beginning stages of something like this will have to be incredibly chaotic in nature, and they will have to encompass significant change to something. The second card you draw, let's see here. You draw the. God damn it! I had it here. Sorry, one sec.
You could just give me the general meaning.
Ah, here we go. You draw the Chariot, but when you pull that card, it is upside down in your hand. And you get the sense that
No traveling
whatever that change is going to be, it won't be something you control. Like, definitely won't be something you can manage to predict reliably.
That is fine.
And the last card you draw is the Emperor. And the vibe you get from looking at all the cards together is that the process that will eventually lead you to this power is going to be sudden chaotic change that you cannot control whatsoever, leading to a power that exerts control.
Okay, I think Iris has gotten enough from this. So the test subject, he's absolutely restrained, right?
Again, yes, he's in a kneeling position from which he can't exit. He can basically
so-
wriggle himself into falling on his side, but that's about it.
Right. So, because I've yet to know how it feels to, sort of like channel vicissitude through dementation, I'm going to start real easy and I'm going to approach him, like put my hands on him, but not activate vicissitude. But so to say, set my mind to that I'm going to use something now, and I want that to be the guiding thing.
Okay.
So, like, not through the hands, but through the mind, so to say. And I'm going to use Voice of Madness on him.
Well, he's currently unconscious.
Yeah, slap.
Okay. You give him a couple of slaps. He doesn't really seem to react at first. And then you get...
I give him some blood so that he wakes up. And so that if anything happens, he actually survives.
Yeah. You, sort of, using your nail, kind of prick your finger and just hold it to his mouth. And it's almost like the human body instinctively wants to drink it. Even unconscious, he sort of leans forward and goes after the blood. And after a quick sip, you pull your hand away, close up the wound, and the man slowly sort of pulls himself from the sleep. At first, he seems very confused, disoriented.
I don't wait. He can already hear me.
Mm-hmm.
I just have my hands on his, like, what, maybe hands? Are they bare?
They're behind his back and fused to his back.
Yeah, so I basically stand behind him and just, like, put one of my hands on, like, just, like, I need to have one of my hands on his, like, maybe neck or something. And I just tell him, right then, you're going to be the first step towards making something that I guess most metamorphoses are really not going to understand. But anyway, how do you feel about starring in the Akira anime live? And I activate Voice of Madness.
Okay. So you may roll for it.
I don't think a roll is needed against mortals at all.
I don't either. But check the rules. I don't quite remember what Voice of Madness
Yeah. I'm going to
entails.
3 successes.
Awesome. And Voice of Madness causes derangements, right?
No, Voice of Madness basically makes the person panic.
Okay, yeah, it's dot 4.
Very great. Mortals basically fall into very uncontrollable state of panic.
Yeah.
And
So basically, as soon as he awakens, you start speaking, and after his confusion sort of subsides a little and he realizes his situation, he seems to sort of try to move and flinch from stinging pain, sort of as if he realizes he's touching something very hot. And when he realizes what's going on, he begins to sort of panic already and sort of try to scream to get someone's attention. And as soon as you finish speaking, and you...
I'm sorry, I have a note.
Okay.
His mouth would have been fused shut because, I will need to.
Well, he's attempting to scream then. But yeah, as soon as you finish your I'll handle that later. As soon as you finish the sentence and you sort of focus that thought in your mind, that sort of acts like a lens to the insanity that you've been cursed with. You project it onto him, and immediately the panic he was feeling increases almost tenfold. He jerks around. You hear some ripping noises from the modifications. Obviously, it's not enough to set him free, but the fact that he's in pain and not really noticing the motions he's pulling, that's a testament to how freaked out he is.
I think Iris has enough strength to basically hold him down with that
You
hand
don't need to. He
because
he can't move much more than this. That's the
yeah,
thing.
but she needs to like preserve like contact, and she needs to be currently tapping into the madness that is currently within him and trying to have her vicissitude act upon that, like controlled by it, so that she knows how that feels.
Mm-hmm.
So she's focusing on that and and making sure he stays put so that she can close her eyes and meditate.
Okay. Well, you first you place your hands on him, and the panic again. He's flailing his body around. Eventually, he almost falls to the side, but your arms pressing down on him keep him there. And in the position he is, and with the modifications you've made already, it's not like he can win any context of strength. So you after a bit you feel you're focused enough to make the first attempt.
Mm-hmm. Would you like me to make a roll?
I will need you to. Well, you are with your hands on his shoulders, right?
Yes, but I'm not using malleable flesh to it. I'm
I know, I know.
trying.
I need you to uh, choose one of the following stats.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to either pick a social attribute
Mm-hmm.
or pick a knowledge from your skills.
Knowledge from my skills?
Sorry, not a knowledge. Basically, a social skill that either applies with intimidation, expression, something like that.
I'm going to use. I'm gonna go with charisma.
Okay. So roll me charisma medicine.
Mm-hmm. Does flesh crafting apply?
Yes.
Okay. Woo!
Fucking hell.
6,
Okay.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Jesus. So you focus for a moment, and what do you say?
Do I need to say something?
Well, yes.
I, I, I was not mentally prepared for something. Okay, fine. It's going to be. Iris is going to be thinking. Okay, I feel like I need to say something. Skedaddle, skedoodle, your dick is a noodle.
Okay. And as you finish this silly sentence, at first you continue to see him sort of panic, not really paying attention to anything, and you simply assume that you failed somehow. In frustration, you sort of lean back and take your hands off of him to sort of take a deep breath and refocus. But as soon as you pull your hands away from him, you see his skin right where your hands were pressing. You see his skin sort of follow your hands almost. Your hands are not touching it, and yet the skin is like moving towards them.
Ooh.
And after your hands get far enough, the guy just falls to the ground, wriggling in pain, with these two flabs of skin coming out of his shoulders.
Does it seem like this stupid spell could have actually noodlified his dick?
You don't know. I mean, you could check, but
Well, I'm not gonna take off his pants. God knows where. When did he wash? But I'm just gonna tap it on the front to see if
no
it did fall
changes.
off. Okay. I mean, otherwise, like, it would be really awkward to report that to Cecil.
But you have this result. You're not
Mm-hmm.
quite sure how you accomplished it yet, though.
Right. I'm gonna let him suffer for a bit because until he comes out of the madness, he's sort of unusable for me. But good thing I have the other guy. I can actually continue. So how good that I forgot that I had already a test subject. Good old ADHD. Right. So Iris is gonna go to that guy. Mm, make sure he's better tied up
Mm-hmm.
because now she needs it.
Yeah.
And then she's gonna repeat the process with him to wake him up.
Okay. This time you make sure to sort of almost fuse him in the fetal position, in a way where most of the muscles he could use to break himself free are just disconnected, so they don't do anything. You take a
Mm.
lot more time, and while you're doing this, the other guy is just wriggling on the floor, um, in complete agony and insanity.
If it starts bothering Iris, she's probably just gonna put on some music into her ears.
Mm-hmm. And after a few moments, you have a man who is unconscious and turn into a human egg, for lack of a better word.
It was you and human eggs.
Yeah.
Ray, please. Skedaddle skedoodle. Um, so this one, once Iris wakes him up. So, Ray, go away. So this time so here's the thing, she has already tried using Voice of Madness on mortals, and she knows that they always panic. So maybe this wasn't really like a good thing for it, maybe? Because the first card was talking about chaos and lack of control. And sure, Voice of Madness sort of falls there, but it really applies more to K-Knights. But there is definitely one thing which Iris does not control at all, and that's haunting.
Okay.
So this time she's going to attempt the same process, but she's going to use haunting.
All right. So roll for it.
Okay, just a second. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, 3 successes.
Nice. Um. So, what do you say?
Mm. Well, I'm going to sort of sit down in front of this human egg, look him in the eyes. So, have you ever considered what would happen if suddenly your body would start changing shape and become haunted? If every sin you've ever done would appear on your skin, if every fear you had would change and shape your body. Do you think you would ever look like the colonialists from the humans, from the futures of the humanity? Or would you look like one of those ugly looking fishes?
Okay. Well, as you begin speaking, the man wakes, and at first he seems to look at the state his body is in and sort of try to shake, try to release himself, attempting to scream and not really being able to. And eventually, you finish speaking, and the man's eyes just expand, and he seems to sort of look to panic at his own skin. And eventually, he shuts his eyes and starts trying to shake as if something was on his face and he was trying to get it off.
Yes, so I'm putting the hands again on him and just like letting the control over the vicissitude be given over to the haunting.
Okay.
Do I do the same roll?
Up to you. You may choose one social role, or you may choose a social. You may choose a social attribute or a social skill or talent. Up to you.
Um. Well, let's go with empathy this time.
All right.
Or maybe actually awareness, maybe. Maybe awareness.
Awareness?
Well, I still feel like charisma. I don't know. It's like, it just like that kind of like, you know, resonates.
Okay.
Mainly because it would be really ironic if I was be using charisma.
Okay. Well, you attempt to use charisma once more then?
Mm-hmm.
Charisma medicine.
4, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay. What do you say?
Imagine this is all a bad dream, and tomorrow you wake up in your bed, but then you go to your mirror, and what looks out at you is literally the worst thing you could ever be, not even human. Show me, how would you look?
And as you say this, you focus on your words and you allow sort of your blood to boil in your veins and pull from it the power of vicissitude, and yet you don't focus it on your hands or your touch. You just try to project it onto this man. And the man continues to sort of shake his face, trying to shake off whatever it was. And once again, at first, it doesn't seem to really have an effect. And then the man opens his eyes, and instead of his eyes, you just see essentially pools of blood dripping out of his skull.
Okay, okay. I mean, that's process, but still not very Akira-like, is it? But definitely good process.
As you're considering the results and you sort of lean back, pondering what to do next, you notice there's a shape at the entrance to the room. And you see Cecil just observing with his hands, his sleeves pulled back all the way and his hands basically covered in blood from his experiments. He just watches you do your thing and just says,
I look.
nothing's gonna prevent you from reaching your potential.
No, I'm really petty that way. When people tell me I can do something, I really want to do that.
Good.
Plus, it's kind of very funny thought to think that technically I could tell Kian something like skedaddle skedoodle, your dick is a noodle, and he will find that his desert parts have fallen off. Even if he's wearing full armor, I just find it really funny.
Your mind will always be a mystery to me.
You gotta find entertainment somehow, especially past the first century of life.
Unimportant. But I'm glad to see that your potential does not go to waste simply because of your odd humor.
I mean, I think I have potential because I have that odd humor, that odd mind. Is something.
Continue. Eventually, you will surpass her. And he
Iris,
simply leans against the frame of the door, just watching you.
Iris just looks at him like, just like, and she looks like she's about to say, she looks like she's about to chew him out. And then she's just like, she breathes in and then looks to the other guy who was passed out. Well, actually, is the haunting guy still alive?
Yes.
Okay, can he hear me?
As far as I can tell, he's not really acknowledging you. He's kind of panicked.
I'm going to see if I can now project vicissitude from a very short distance, so not directly touching.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So he's still under the effects of haunting.
yes, but I'm going to apply Voice of Madness on top of that.
Okay. Fucking hell.
What?
Okay, yeah. Go on.
So it's going to actually look. Iris realizes how cringy it probably looks. She's going to be sitting in front of him, cross-legged, her arms hovering like a bit away from him. You know, like sort of like the energy healers with the crystals. Oh God, she has crystals and tarot cards.
Yes, she is a soccer mom who believes in healing crystals. Continue.
Oh God. Anyway.
It's the world of darkness. Everyone's existence is hell.
But this is really hell.
Yeah. Welcome to the world of darkness. Anyway, continue.
So it's going to be like almost touching him, but there will be like 1-2 centimeters away. And she's basically going to close her eyes, concentrate again on like the feeling of flesh crafting and dementation, and without looking at him, still continuing to meditate, she's going to say, let's turn it up a notch and try it again. And she's going to full force apply the Voice of Madness and push through it like vicissitude.
Okay. So roll first for Voice of Madness.
What was that roll? 2 successes, which is enough for this guy.
Did you apply the... Oh, never mind. Okay, yeah.
I mean, I just need 1 success per person, and
Yeah.
I'm only...
So, you speak, and the man seems, in his panic, his behavior doesn't really change, but you feel that he is affected right now.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if actually for you as a storyteller it matters, the reason why Iris is sort of going with charisma, because think about like the multitude of life and evolution, it's sort of like very chaotic and sporadic, and sometimes it can look even quite insane. I mean, think of the dodos and like other things that exist. So her idea is that she's charming the flesh by affecting it with something that is very, very natural to nature. Like insanity is in a way like a thing that naturally happens to everything if good conditions are not preserved.
So
Like,
am I accurate in assuming you are remaining with charisma as the chosen stat for
I am
this attempt?
to assume the most natural state of evolution to just go mad. I am charming the body, allowing it the metamorphosis, and guiding it towards the natural, like, initial soup of life, where it's just chaos. I am offering it, opening the door for it.
Okay.
I am a super mom. Oh
Interesting logic. You may roll charisma.
It's a crystal mom soccer logic.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 successes.
Okay. What do you say?
What do I say? This time I address the body, not the person, really. I address the body itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, bloom.
Okay. And as soon as you say that, almost instantly, as you have your hands out, his rib cage bursts open and his organs fucking fly all over the room, and the guy just lays there dead, and you get completely covered in blood.
I mean, I didn't know I could charm the socks off out of human bodies. And then I remember that is Cecil still standing there.
He is.
So I look at him. I just charmed the body to go nuts, and like it's spring break and it's from Florida. And I guess that joke went entirely whoosh.
Cecil does not seem to react to the joke, and after a bit he just says, I knew you wouldn't disappoint. Dead Zamichi will never match the inventive nature of my Malkavian prodigy. And he simply turns and walks back to the other room.
Iris is just like sitting cross-legged in front of the dead body with like a dumb fucking smile on her. Like, well, not a smile, it's like.
Mm-hmm. And as Iris sort of processes the situation, we will go on a very short break. And we shall return very soon.
After a long while. Wait, not done.
Okay.
After like some time, Iris is like, was he? He was flirting with me, wasn't he? That was flirting. That was definitely flirting. Freezes for the next half an hour.
Okay. All right. Well, as Iris processes her teenage girl emotions in the body of a 100-year-old vampire, we shall go on a short break, and we shall return very soon. And we return, this time joining in that same night Jack, who is being driven through East LA by his ghoul, who takes him through the streets in this rather expensive looking car. What is on Jack's mind as he essentially traverses the city?
Mainly the interest of exploiting, or even maybe preparing the pit for the venture in Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of nervous because meeting with his clan members is mostly, I don't know, mental chess, and meeting with his bloodlines of his clan. Last time turned out to be a fucking massacre.
Mm-hmm. Well, as he thinks about this, eventually Leo opens up this little window that you've set up on this car, specifically so you can attend to private business without having your ghoul bother you. He sort of opens this little window and says, "We're here, boss."
Appreciate it.
And you feel the car sort of turn and then settle in a parking spot. You want me to come with you?
You good?
Up to you,
He
boss.
might be interesting kind of guy, but you absolutely could.
I will if you ask me to, boss.
Yeah, let's meet the family.
Right on. You see the window close. You feel the car in the front seat open, close, and shortly after, the passenger door on your side opens, and Leo keeps it open for you.
I'll walk out of the car.
And what you see nearby, the address you were given, is this church. Only the symbol at the top of the church is not a cross. It looks more like a circle with a bunch of spikes going out.
Does it look kinda religious, but of some other religion?
If so, you wouldn't know what religion. Leo then waits for you to fully exit the car and gently closes the car door behind you before locking it.
Does the neighborhood look like we could return to the color on the bricks?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Does the neighborhood look like we can return to the cars standing on the bricks instead of wheels?
No, not at all.
Good. I'll walk towards the church.
As you approach the church, you sort of hear this very faint and muffled music. Potentially, if you had to guess, it's church music played on an organ. And as you sort of push the door open, the volume immediately rises. Obviously, you hear the music very clearly. You see everyone, all the pews are filled to the brim. People with their hands up as if praising something, and right at the end, standing on the altar, is Isaac, with he basically seems to have removed his coat and his shirt, and you see this man he sports like vividly red beard and somewhat long hair. And as he stands there with his arms out, essentially shouting a sermon to the church, you see that from the neck down, from the wrist all the way to the chest, his entire body is covered, and I do mean covered, in tattoos. And he essentially finishes the sermon and jumps out of the altar and starts walking towards you. As he says, "And my brothers and sisters, we every night are joined by new members of the flock. And he approaches you and extends both his hands to hold yours.
Like, okay, I cautiously give him my hands.
He holds your hands somewhat gently. He doesn't like clamp down or anything. He just sort of carries the weight of your hands and he says, "Come, brother, what's your name?"
Jack.
It's good to meet one of the flock. Welcome him, brothers and sisters. We will have business to discuss. I will tell him the truths of this world, but before that, show him he's one of us. And he seems to sort of run up to the altar, get back up, and continues preaching. And as he does that, every single person that you pass sort of gives you pats on the shoulders. They seem to sort of speak encouraging words. And some eventually in the front pew seem to move to the side and make space for you. Leo seems to follow you with a very sort of kind of awkward motion. And when you get space in the pew offered, Leo basically refuses space on the opposite side, like on the opposite pew, in favor of sitting next to you. At which point, people do move around to make space for the two of you instead. Do you sit?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And after you sit, you sort of have to wait through this heavy fucking sermon. And I will have you roll a very quick perception and awareness.
Perception and awareness. 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Careful applies.
Yes. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So, as the music sort of gets louder and Isaac speaks these words out loud, you eventually notice that everyone in the church has their eyes fixed on Isaac, and they are very, very drawn to him. And you sort of feel this impulse to essentially do whatever Isaac wants you to do so he's happy. And you realize Isaac is using some sort of presence power, and not your average pay attention to me type of power, more of do whatever I tell you type of power, affecting the entire room, quite literally. You even see at one point, as people are standing up all together, Leo stands up as well, completely forgetting that you're around, and you feel the impulse to get up but retain the will to not do that if you wish.
I would sit.
Mm-hmm. And as Isaac closes the sermon, he takes his jacket from the altar. He walks up to one of the people in one of the pews, and he takes this woman's hand and helps her up and says, "Now our sister will give you some comforting words, and I want everyone to share their sins. I want everyone to repent. I want everyone to work together in preparation for the end times, for we will all ascend to heaven together." And as he does so, he proceeds to walk towards a side door, and as he approaches the door, he looks at you and sort of nudges his head and goes inside.
I kind of kick Leo with the tip of my foot. In the foot.
You do what?
I kind of like gently kick Leo in the foot with my
Mhm.
foot. Like,
Yeah. And as you do, you sort of notice Leo sort of wipe tears from his eyes, and then he gets sort of the realization that you're still there, essentially, and he sort of regains his composure, adjusts his clothes, and clears his eyes, like brushes away the tears, and then just follows you.
and we go to meet my kind of cousin.
Mm-hmm. And as you enter this side room and close the door behind you, or rather, Leo opens the door for you and closes the door behind you. You get inside to see this quite large room with paraphernalia from multiple religions and a number of texts all strewn about the room. Sort of like this is a very used office with a library of knowledge about religion exclusively. And standing in front of a very dusty mirror is Isaac, buttoning up his jacket again. He turns around and says, "Welcome. I sense you are. Well, I sense we share blood to some extent.
To some.
Let me have a look at you, Jack."
My guest.
And he sort of stares at you for a moment. And after a few moments, he says, "I presume you are not here to fight your fear of insignificance. Rather, you're here to discuss some Sabbat business."
Yeah, kinda. We can talk in significance later, but first of
You will
all,
never be insignificant, brother. Never.
well, if I die, I mean,
You will still live on in the effect you've had in the world. And I can promise you, you've had an effect in the world.
assumed so. Just not sure this effect is, something to write home about. But regardless of that, my priest told me that you, back priest, not the church priest, told me that you have a Nosferatu that can help me with something.
So
Some
you're
curious name, can't really remember.
so you're here to speak to Chuck.
Well, I'm here to acquire a deal with him or whoever represents him.
Is this the deal I've discussed with your pack priest, Serena?
Um, you would have to give me more than that to have me answer.
She wished to obtain the location of the Warrens from
No,
this Nosferatu.
that's not why I'm here.
Good. In that case, I will make sure Chuck has time to hear you out once the sermon is over. But I sense there is some other issue you wish to discuss.
Well, do you know Abel by chance?
I do.
Well, and he told me that I caught a nasty fucking flu from one of the denizens, who's a kind lady.
I see. plagues of this kind, well, they're far more common than I would have them be. But as you have been affected, I present you some options. I will help you, regardless. You owe no one nothing, brother. But I do ask you to consider this. I can give you not only a way to help yourself, but to help so many others. So many others. It will not be easy. It will not be a road that many decide to walk voluntarily, but I can offer it to you.
The whole Holy La Sombra Inquisition road, I suppose.
A different type of mentality. I see from your appearance that you've lost a part of yourself.
You can say that.
I can help you bring it back with time and effort. You can still be who you know you want to be. And it will be necessary if you are to accept this rule. Otherwise, I can simply do the easy road. I can assist you in ridding yourself of this affliction and all the woes that it brings.
What is actual danger of having this, let's say, ticketless passenger?
The risks
Because
are...
it told me it would try to sway me to its side.
It may.
It
As it
kinda
stands...
tried, but it was not really persuasive.
As it stands, it does not have the power to offer you anything. We are both blessed and cursed to be separated from the mortal condition. That also means that powers from beyond only have so much they can do to us. That said, you are currently under the influence of one of them. From what I've gathered in this conversation.
Well,
I
it
can
tried.
simply rid you of that influence, of course. But what I offer you is to expose yourself to this influence further. In exchange, be able to deny this demon and to usurp its power to help others.
And if my morality fails,
Then I will simply make sure your death is swift enough.
tempting offer, but I would have to, think about it for a bit.
Of course. I urge you to consider my offer. Abel has learned so much here. He would be your mentor as I was his. But even if you Even if you accept, know that it will take effort and sacrifice. You may not completely relate to what comes out of the other side. It may not be you entirely, but I can assure you it will be a more virtuous being than this shell you feel yourself becoming. That will be the reward of such effort. Or I can simply slice the influence of the creature from you, and you will remain what you are.
Aren't we always influenced by something?
Only if you let yourself be influenced by it. I would know one or two things about resisting foreign influences.
Oh, well then.
Tell me, Jack. And as Isaac says this, he makes his way to the table that has piles and piles of documents on it. And he reaches down to the cupboard, opens it, and pulls out essentially a sealed wine bottle and 3 glasses. And he pours blood into the 3 glasses. He offers you one of them and asks, "What caused your sire to curse you with such a blessing?"
Well, I suppose she saw something that she would like me to keep longer than humanity, as in just humans. Well, and probably my resilience could be.
And this man you've brought beside you, what made you choose him?
Well,
I would assume he's your servant.
he is.
I pity his condition. I, for one, avoid such things, but you must have chosen to rip him of his free will for a productive reason, at least.
He's good with numbers.
Do you take the cup that he offers you?
Is it just blood?
Looks like it.
I won't pretend to be our very esteemed third cousins twice removed and smell the fucking blood.
Okay. Well, so you take the glass and smell the blood.
No, I don't smell the blood.
Okay. Okay, I got it. So you don't take the glass at all, or do you?
I take the glass, but I just don't smell the blood.
Okay, got it. So you take the glass and just hold it. And Isaac then offers the other glass to Leo. And Leo sort of looks to you with a questioning face.
I suppose mortal is not of this season.
Well, do you say this out loud?
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I suppose it's not mortal blood, but in pretentious way.
Isaac simply says, "It's a vintage from someone long dead."
Well then. What should we drink?
Hmm?
So what should we drink?
For now, we'll drink to the potential of a cure. If you wish to drink. And he simply lets Leo grab the glass, sort of pushing it onto him. Leo sort of grabs the glass as if sort of being forced to do so. And Isaac goes back, grabs his own glass, and sort of raises it to you. To purging demonic influence from your soul. Yeah, that's what you'll do if you drink this. And he just chugs the entire glass.
I can drink to that. I'll drink my bottoms up.
Mm-hmm. Roll me stamina.
Yep. It won't be much. Dice. Yeah, 6 is
Okay.
probably enough.
So you feel the liquid go down your throat, and you expect the taste of Vitae to be essentially the nearly addicting experience that you've gone through in the past.
Mm.
Instead, it's this burning sensation deep in your chest as you swallow the liquid. And there's this deafening silence that you're sort of pulled into for just a split second before you realize that you've just finished the drink. Leo drinks and doesn't seem to really react the same, or to really react to anything, which makes you think he didn't experience the same thing you did.
Mm.
And Isaac sort of lets his cup rest on the table on top of one of the documents, and he sort of leans on the table with both hands, looking at you.
Potent fucking brew.
Unfortunately, the demonic influence burns away quite painfully.
I suppose.
This should provide you some resistance to it, but the full process of exorcising the demon will be more complex. That said, this should provide you some time to make your choice. And if you choose to take my offer, simply go to Abel.
Right now, time is what I really need.
Well, consider this the first step in a long-lasting friendship between us.
Family matters and all.
None of that. I would have done this for you if you were some random caitiff. Your clan doesn't have to define who you are, Jack. Didn't define me.
No. Dark angels are quite literally different breed.
Very true. And they very often are not part of the Camarilla, like I was.
Oh.
My story is one of a set of unique circumstances that took away my options.
Well, my story, how do I put it this poetically, is a murder fest and research and a bit of betrayal, like always.
Unfortunately, most are.
Most don't see their pack go down in explosion.
My condolences.
Appreciated. And family matters.
Have you thought about them much since the incident?
Not really.
Perhaps meditating on their choices and the subsequent results could be one choice that may lead you to some realizations. Then again, maybe not.
Well, what kind of troubles me more is, let's say, the rate of friendliness when I'm meeting family.
Unfortunately, this sect is rarely an easy one to exist in.
What happens to the enemies of the sect is kind of worse. But on the other hand, the suffering ends at some point.
It need not be suffering. It may be an enjoyable penance, paradoxically enough. Regardless, I believe you wanted to speak to, and as Isaac gestures, the door opens, and in walks this person that is completely wrapped up in clothing. He closes the door behind him, and as soon as the door closes, he sort of walks up to you with a somewhat raspy voice and says, "You better not have tried anything."
I've tried to talk with Isaac, but I suppose it's not what you're talking about.
Isaac raises one hand and says, "Peace, Chuck. Peace. This is Jack. He came here to offer you a deal, or to procure some information from you. As I recall, this is something you enjoyed doing." The figure sort of straightens his back for a moment. Then, after a glance towards Isaac, looks to you and seems to take this cloth away from his mouth, and then pulls the hood out and reveals this really, really deformed face with his teeth perpetually visible, his ears extended far behind his head, and his eyes without eyelids, just in these cavernous sockets. And he looks to you with these holes you would call a nose. And he simply says, "Well, you should have just come to me. What business can we do?"
Well, you probably know that Santa Monica Anarchs are just a bunch of bullshit sponsored by and signed off by His Majesty Max Strauss. So I would like to know whose money flows in and how I can stop that.
I could get you that information in a few nights. So I
And
know
in
what you
return?
want. So what can you offer?
Well, I am not so shabby abyss children. I can control some minds, individuals.
I see.
I can provide you with ghoul.
Tell you what, there is something else you could give me. Who's your pack priest in town?
Serena.
Perfect.
That sounded way too eager.
I've been trying to get something, but no, we best discuss this outside. Follow me. And he sort of walks up to the end of the office to another door. He sort of moves a few sheets of paper as well as one book that's sort of hanging open on the side of the table. Moves those aside to reach the handle, opens the door, and heads to this sort of small courtyard at the back of the church. And Isaac sees you go into the back and simply waves to you as he walks towards the main area of the church. Do you follow Chuck outside?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As you do, Leo goes after you and closes the door behind you once more. He makes sure to remain on watch to make sure no one is laying eyes through the fences or above them. But the area seems quite secluded. And after reaching the outside of the church, Chuck turns and sort of seems to scratch what's left of his lip that's sort of hanging on the side. And he then speaks up. So I know that among your pack you have a couple of people that interest me.
Probably.
Well, there's the gargoyle type you've recently scooped up off the street. And then there's the what Isaac calls his student.
Yes.
Good. Are you particularly attracted to either of them? In terms of loyalty, that is.
I won't really go backstabbing.
Wouldn't need you to. Simply need one thing from either of them. From your holier than thou type, he has a book that I need. You get me that book, you get whatever information I can get you on the Camarilla's operations in Santa Monica. If that is not something you're interested in doing, then I need a way to influence what your little gargoyle pet gets up to. I don't intend him any harm. It's just useful information to keep tabs on. And to direct him to certain things.
And what's the name of the book?
Oh, it's an old Bible he's holding. He probably keeps it very close to his person. Probably keeps it in that ugly van he drives around in. I dare not go close to it, as I need to uphold the promise, but you can. And if you get me that book, well, let's say that I'll be able to fix a lot of fucking problems Isaac's gotten himself into.
And what direction you want the gargoyle to go? Because he's kind of exactly the opposite of that piece of skull. I keep everything inside. He barely gets any right now.
Well, I need a way to guide him to where I need him to be. I don't need you to do it, just need you to provide me a way to do it.
Well,
reliably.
He trusts me.
He trusts you.
In a way.
So if I told you to bring him to a place, you'd be able to do that for me.
I could try.
Could you get him to trust me?
Well, so again, I could try. It's not that I'm not willing. It's that he is a very peculiar fucking set of.
I'm aware of
Things that go
who
with
and
all
how
things.
he behaves. That is not my issue. I need a way to influence him. If you can provide that, that's a good route to go on. If you can't, just give me that book.
Well, if you promise no harm to Gargoyle, I'll try that.
I can promise I will do no
Otherwise-
harm to the gargoyle. Is that satisfactory?
You can't really promise for others, but are you fucking Nosferatu Overlord here?
What do you mean?
Oh, like there's always someone from the clan who is the main guy
You
to
think
listen
that's
to,
me?
but well, I'm asking if that's you.
Not even close. The guy who's in charge, though, he's not exactly the type with a sense of humor. At least not one anyone outside of the clan could appreciate.
Well, you're human. It's your concern. I'll talk with Gargoyle.
Good.
I'll talk with our paladin.
Good.
Put it that way.
You might, if you opt to bring me the book, you might want to avoid bringing up the topic with it. Mr. Sanctimonious isn't very willing to part with the volume, so if you can bring it to me without his knowledge, that would be ideal.
Well, worst case, I can fucking memorize it.
No, I need the actual document.
Well, like 100% up to the last detail.
I need the actual document.
Okay.
Good.
If
We
he
have a
reads my
deal.
mind, I can't fucking protect me from that. Okay.
Sorry?
If he's able to read my mind, I can do.
Well, I would assume that would be your concern. Do we have a deal?
Yeah.
Good. I'll start looking into the details you want. Post haste. Do make sure to give old handicap McGee my regards. And he extends his hand for a handshake.
Handicap McGee.
Your gargoyle used to have a limp.
I see. Well. See you when I see you.
I would make a bet that you wouldn't. But that would be one of our jokes. Either way, you can exit through the front. I'll be planning a few things.
I'll maybe have a quick word with Isaac.
Okay. Sure, I mean,
Probably.
you should be finishing up the sermon now, so just head on in.
Yep.
Cool. And he seems to turn around, and he walks up to something on the floor that looks like a very a somewhat small plumbing entrance for the church, basically to get to the water pipes and such. He goes up to it. He finds this space in the grass near it. Essentially, puts his hand through the grass, seems to grapple with something in there, and you hear sort of a clank noise as the lid opens. He pulls the lid open and seems to crawl inside and close it behind him.
Not a fucking iota of humanity. I don't even fucking know. Let's.
So you head
If
back
my-
inside?
Yeah.
Okay.
If he's free, I'll pitch a few words.
Yeah. So you start heading back inside. The two of you go into the office and you can hear the sermon wrapping up. And as it does, Leo sort of seems to sigh and say, "Boss, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Go on.
Are we okay trusting these people?"
We are absolutely fucking not. But do we have a choice?
I think Isaac is trustworthy enough. Mr. Abel has been dealing with him for a prolonged period of time. I would assume he wouldn't do so if he wasn't reliable. But this Chuckles, I don't know.
Don't claim that. Would be safer for your health.
Okay. And after a few moments, the door to the office opens and Isaac walks back inside. He closes the door, seems to lock it with a key, and turns to you. "Ah, Mr. Jack, I see you are still here, my brother.
Yeah.
How..."
Wanted to talk more like blood to blood than packmate to packmate.
Huh. How about friend
You
to
do
friend?
know that the clan, like friend to friend. Not that I'm really friendly with any of my pack. You do know that your bloodline is not the only of the clan.
I would suspect so.
Well, there was a person of a different bloodline, way different than yours. They, if my sources are to be believed, they are of fairy ancestry. Well, at least this person was.
I see.
I can't even fucking tell if I liked it or not.
Oh, did you?
I had to. Otherwise, clan secrets would have gone to a gangrel, or to Abel, or to my ductus, or to my, probably not to ductus, but to my priest.
Jack, divorce yourself from your clan. Nothing good can come of it. Attaching yourself to blood alone is a good recipe to lose yourself to endless jihad. Dedicate yourself to something better.
Like the sect. This is just more jihad.
Like God. Like the end of times that is fast approaching.
I kinda doubt that God would easily accept sorta unhappy killer. And not even killer. Diablerie is a fucking potent drug.
Diablerie is a sin, yes. One
It
you should
is.
not engage in.
Past that point of expiration. Twice.
Still have the self-awareness not to do it again. Look, you're not a lost
Have some
cause.
control.
No one is. No one is beyond salvation. But effort has to be made. Mainly so you don't do these things. Best you can do is remember who you wronged. This fairy descendant, and he sort of chuckles to himself, shaking
They
his
call
head.
themselves Kiasid.
Very well. This Kia seed. I'm sure she had her reasons to do what caused you to choose this course of action, but this course of action is never the only or the last one.
That's what makes it feel especially shitty. Because I could
Should.
probably have came up with a better idea.
It should feel shitty, Jack. You're not beyond redemption. The fact that you recognize you did something wrong is the first step.
Can't really bring her back.
No, you can't. You can honor her memory. Become a better person.
That's something I should at least try. You know, novelty at least.
Well, it's something you are fully capable of, I can assure you. If I got redeemed, you can.
I don't fucking like the feeling of being a rope in a tug of war. But if you know my grandsire, and if you know my doctors,
I am aware of who your ductus is. I don't believe I know your grandsire.
Master Valent Richardson.
I've heard the name. I'm divorced from clan and politics.
Well, he's devoted nihilist.
Turning
Offered me his
yourself
path.
into a tool of evil can have its merits if you do it correctly. Most of our clan don't. You can be a tool of evil, sure, but
Even the fucking poster
mindlessly
boy.
perpetrating it will get you nowhere.
How do I know if his path is better than most?
It is not. Look to me, Jack. It is not. If you need to put your faith in someone, put it in me. I am telling you, turning yourself into a monster, an irredeemable force of evil, is not what you should strive for. It's not what anyone should strive for. And the fact that your grandsire chose to take that step makes him a lesser man. I dedicate my existence to purging the world of worshippers of these things from beyond. I'm aware that your sire serves evil. He does their bidding, whether he likes to do it or not. That's what he accomplishes. He spreads their influence.
I choose the wrong fucking city to get back to.
Most of us did. No place on Earth is a good place if you live long enough.
Yeah. Sounds like a sane mortals use. You either
Perhaps.
die a hero or live long enough to become a fucking monster.
Or choose the third
Or-
option. Become salvation on Earth. And Isaac simply raises his arms to the side.
I'll have to have a real good think about what I am and what I should become, or probably would become in this space.
Well, if you wish to regain some of your self back, you can either shed some sweat, or blood rather, and work with me or Abel, or I can provide you with a contact. Someone who tends to hopeless cases within the sect. I don't think you're a hopeless case, Jack. But if you do, people can still
don't know.
help you.
That's my fucking problem. I don't yet know.
Well, I suppose I better give you space to figure that out first. I require my...
Anyway,
Hmm?
in any way, appreciated at least the ear and the help with my problem for now.
Of course, Jack. Anytime. And feel free to share things with Abel. He is as much of a saint as I have become.
Good to see that the sect at least tries sometimes to have good in itself.
For selfish reasons, always. But
Oh,
good. Let's just say that
you
the
can't have
sun
no
doesn't...
reason.
Hmm?
You can't have no reason.
Of course, but let's just say that the sun doesn't quite care how its light reaches the earth. Sometimes being a reflection in the face of the moon is enough. There's a reason why symbology does what it does best. And he sort of pulls the collar of his jacket out a bit, and you see in the midst of the tattoos the symbol you saw at the top of the church, tattooed right on the center of his chest. And looking at it now, it looks like an eclipse.
Some biblical references, I see. Or historical.
It turns out that if enough people foster enough religions, eventually one of them gets it right. It just so happened that my curse was that I got it right. Now, I don't usually engage in selfish acts, but I'm afraid I need to ask you to provide me the church for the rest of the night. I do have some visitors that will be joining me here, and they are not the type of visitors that would do well with you in the room.
No problem. You need some money for the church?
If you'd like to donate, I ask only that you go through Abel. The church can always use some renovations, and I insist that you, if you wish to donate, you spend your own money to see where it goes. I want none of that money to touch my hands at any point.
Well, I can write you a check and you can use it to pay the workers.
Every worker we have here is charity. But I can assure you that providing materials, and if you wish to provide something more, providing food for our charity dinners, that would be more than enough.
Gotcha.
I'm sure Abel can handle the details. And if, of course, you ever need another meeting with me, feel free to find me here every night. Sermon ends around midnight, and I usually have some time to discuss anything you wish to discuss.
If you have the list of materials on hand, feel free to give it to my ghoul. He's running most money anyway.
Leo quite quickly reaches into his breast pocket and hands Isaac a card. He takes it and says, "Suppose money does make the world go round while it still exists."
Well, necessary evil, or something in that line.
Most things are. Now, have a good evening, Jack, and do think on my offer.
I will.
Good. And Isaac turns and begins to flip through the pages on his table looking for a specific one. And as he does, he sort of, at the same time, closes the bottle. And as you leave back to the car, Leo goes to the door on the side, and as he rests his hand on the handle, he sort of stops for a moment and thinks, and then turns to you and says, "Boss, you mind if I show up to services here once in a while?"
If it helps you feel better. You take care of my finances, I have to take care of your mental health, I suppose.
I don't know. It just seemed
If you
that
want, you
Isaac was
can go.
speaking. Isaac was speaking some sense during that sermon.
Well, my knowledge of his bloodline is not that extreme, but well, you know what? Take the shotgun. I sit in the driver's seat. I'm gonna explain to him, just in the crudest terms, how Black Angels been around.
Okay. And as you both drive off, beginning another lengthy conversation, we will end the stream there. Thank you, everyone who watched. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for checking us out. I hope you enjoy our episodes and our little games here. Do remember once more to check out the links in the description, both to the profile of our very talented musician, Mark, as well as the upcoming V5 book written by our very talented Amalia, Sabbat the Schism, including revamped vicissitude and dementation disciplines brought from V20 to V5. We are very excited to read the final result once it does come out. In the meantime,
The kind folk of the future, go like, subscribe, and comment. First two should have lit up for you. Go on, click it.
Yeah, so do like, comment, and subscribe. You know, the interaction does help us quite a bit, and we always love reading your comments when we do have them. And that will be that for tonight. We will see you next week.